I'm going to show you exactly how the ultra wealthy, that is, family offices, sovereign funds, and billionaires could rebuild an entire nation, not with charity, but with strategy, leverage, and aligned self interest. Welcome to the most important conversation no one is having. Now, nations rise and fall, not just on politics, but on capital. And today, while governments struggle under bureaucracy and debt, private capital is sitting on the sidelines, silent, massive, and underutilized. But what if the wealthy didn't just donate? What if they deployed capital with sovereign level intent to rebuild a nation from the ground up? Now, before we talk about rebuilding, we need to understand why nations are failing to self repair. First, governments are trapped in legacy systems, red tape, debt ceilings, misaligned incentives, 10-year timelines for 100-day problems. Second, fiscal crises and debt overload, trillions in underfunded liabilities, no margin for long-term infrastructure plays. Third, short-term politics kill long-term strategy. Most administrations operate on election cycles. Capital, by contrast, can think in decades. In short, nations are structurally short term, but capital, that is real patient capital, doesn't have to be. Now let's look at the role of private capital. Private capital becomes an architect of renewal. First, capital as a parallel government, building where the government can't, funding where the state won't, acting with speed where bureaucracy freezes. Second, what could be rebuilt? Water systems, ports, grids, schools and research corridors, housing, rail, digital infrastructure. These aren't donations, they are revenue generating sovereign grade assets. Third, not philanthropy, but infrastructure capitalism. Returns backed by utility and productivity. Public-private hybrids with clear, measurable KPIs. 50-year leases, not handouts. Capital doesn't just fix things, it makes them profitable to care about. If I were managing a $50 billion family office or a sovereign capital pool, here is how I would architect a national rebuild using pure private capital. First, build a rebuild fund, that is with a 10 billion anchor. Invite other billionaires and institutions. Treat it like a nation scale startup. The focus here will be infrastructure, sovereignty, and productivity. Second, form a civilizational brain trust. Bring in macro strategists, builders, and operators. Combine systems thinkers and local knowledge. Think like a Marshall Plan designed by Elon Musk and Peter Thiel. Third, select the zone of maximum leverage, a region or city with a willing government, crumbling but strategic infrastructure, high youth unemployment, which will give you workforce potential. Fourth, execute via PPPs, that's public-private partnerships, 49-51 ownership models with buyback triggers, revenue sharing agreements. Target IRR will be 8 to 12% plus civilization upside. Don't just invest in projects, invest in capacity. Rebuild the ability of a region to reproduce, trade, defend, and innovate. Fifth, establish a parallel governance system using DAOs or sovereign level governance architecture. Invite community co ownership. Ensure continuity beyond any government regime. This isn't altruism, this is strategic self interest at scale. First, systemic risk mitigation. Failed state equals supply chain collapses, mass migration, geopolitical instability. Rebuilding nations equals stabilizing global foundations. Second, long-term yield in underserved assets, real assets with stable income, toll roads, energy, water, backed by first mover advantage and monopoly positioning. Third, narrative power and legacy. Being known as an architect of national renewal is soft power, political influence, generational legacy. Wealth buys you access, but rebuilding a nation buys you history. So, why aren't the rich already doing this already? Well, first, lack of unified coordination. Second, fear of being seen as overreaching. Third, misunderstanding of ROI timelines. Fourth, over reliance on philanthropic models, but that is changing. We are entering an era where civilizational investing becomes the highest form of capital deployment. Nations don't just fall, they get forgotten until someone chooses to remember them through capital. We live in a time where the rich can rebuild sovereignty and architect entire economies. The only question is, will they? Or will the next generation of builders be the ones who do that? As always, subscribe for more.